Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the York Historic Architectural Review Board. I'd like to have a roll call. Mr. Kunkel.
Here.
Mr. Skian.
Present.
Zumbrin present. Schermeyer absent. Ms. McLean-Gross.
Here.
Mr. Buffington absent. Mr. Gifford.
Here.
Ms. Lindy Heitzel absent. Could I have a motion to approve the previous?
So moved.
Second? Moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Motion approved. Mark seconded.
To it, because he was going to motion. I beat him to it.
First case tonight is 48 East Market Street. The project will consist of removing 11 antennas, adding 7 antennas, removing 24 remote radio heads, and adding 12 remote radio heads. On the 142-foot tall building, the antennas will be installed at a center line of approximately 114 feet and 130 feet, and tip heights of approximately 115 and a half feet, 117 feet, 131 and a half feet, and 134 feet. The overall height of the structure will remain at approximately 142 feet. Is there someone here to discuss that project?
How you doing? My name's Kyle Naden. I'm here to represent Jacobs and AT&T for the proposed project.
Okay. You want to just give us any other detail than what was read from your application as to the composition and the removal process and the basic visual difference that will be able to be seen from a public right-of-way?
Sure, yeah. If anything, it would be less of a visual impact. The overall equipment account is being reduced, and the sizes are actually getting smaller. So 142-foot roof, the difference from the ground level, it would not be really visible for anybody just passing by the building.
Is this the collection of utilities and infrastructure that's on the fire stair tower on the west side of the roof?
There's sleds on top of the roof, so it wouldn't be in the building or on the side of the building. They're physically mounted. So there's a flat roof level, and then there's a higher penthouse level. The difference in heights that you heard read out for the center lines, the 114 foot's on the actual roof level, and then the 131 and a half to 134 and a half feet is on the penthouse.
Makes sense. Yep.
And if I'm doing my math correctly, so you're removing 11 and adding 7, so it's a net loss of 4. Removing 24, adding 12, so it's a net loss of 12.
Correct. And the higher count there, the RRHs, the remote radio heads, they'll actually be installed on the back ends of those sleds behind the antennas, so those won't be visible from anybody.
Okay.
They will be roof level on sleds?
So yeah, the sleds are
Sled level.
the sled level, yeah. So the sleds are mounted, and then the antennas are on the front end of those sleds and a little higher up, but it's still negligible difference from the street view.
As someone who, until just recently, lived catty-cornered from the Yorktown on a third-floor apartment, it was even difficult to make out the antennas from a raised height. Now, that's sort of my own anecdote, but they are quite difficult to see. So.
Yeah, they're usually a lighter color too, so if you're looking up at a cloudy day, it's going to blend in a little bit better. And you'd have to be a couple 100 feet away to even see the tips of them with how small they would look from that distance. The height, I think the biggest antenna up there is 6 foot, so 6 foot tall antenna with a little bit of maybe a parapet shielding from the ground level is hardly noticeable.
All the removal and installation will be done at the roof level.
Correct.
No cranes.
That is yet to be determined. That'll be from our construction portion of the team, but if there is a crane required, they would go through the permitting process to figure out what's needed, if any roads would need to be shut down, if there's a vacant parking lot, anything like that. So they're well versed in handling those types of requests.
The only reason I ask is, the smokestack
Yes,
down on.
that's a little harder to access.
Every time I see that crane there, it's like,
Yeah.
man, that's gotta cost money.
Yes, they're not cheap. We try to avoid them at all costs, but sometimes on a smokestack, you can't really climb up there and swap stuff out. But yeah,
Do you guys also happen to be doing that work on the steam plant?
right now, no.
Oh, okay.
I do not have that one. Usually those are more difficult projects, so luckily that we don't have to deal with it.
Gotcha.
Well, they just changed them.
Okay,
And
yeah.
they're all the exact same color. They appear to hang out a little further than they used to.
Yeah.
At the History Center?
Are new,
Yeah, on the
they're
History
same
Center.
Color. To me, they are what they are.
Are there any other questions? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the application as presented.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any other comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Motion's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I did.
The next case is 119 South Newbury Street. Adding a one-story addition to the rear of this property will replace an existing deck that is in a state of disrepair.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I believe this is intended to state there is a proposed bathroom to be installed on the first floor and to move a laundry room to the first floor to the basement, and an extra bedroom, additional living space, dimensions and locations of the missing some words. Existing structure on the attached documents. Materials still to be determined. Pictures of existing. Also has considered finishing the basement, but due to the fact that it has flooded multiple times, would rather add on.
This is not visible from
We currently do not have a first floor bathroom. I'm sorry, I'm kind of trying to interpret this. Laundry room or guest room,
This is King Street.
but it will be more practical, entertaining guests and family members.
Exposed.
Are you here to talk about that project?
Yeah, my wife and I own the property. It's all about adding an addition to the rear of the house, but it is visible from the street because our property extends beside our house to the south side of it. So you can see
parking lot off King Street.
on what's that? I'm sorry.
There's a parking lot off King Street that you can see it from. That's what you're referring to?
It's on the alley side, like away, like what is that, Newton Alley? So when you're on Newbury Street, you can see the rear of the property, and currently, like it said, there's a porch that extends, but it's we thought rather than just replacing the porch, maybe we could do an addition instead. But of course, to get the permits and everything, we have to go through this process since we're in the historical district. And my understanding from reading the HARB documents, that since it's visible from the street, the materials we use have to be like kind or similar to, it has to be approved and everything. So we haven't gotten as far as picking all the materials and all that kind of thing because we, in a way, need direction on how to proceed even. So I guess this is first step,
Usually we hear the cases once a design is existing and proposed.
Sure.
And in general, as far as guidance, it varies a great deal depending on the structure and the intention.
They're not just on the first floor, like
if you're using similar materials, what are you attaching it to? Is it brick?
No, it's not brick. I mean, there's only brick around the bottom. It's
The house is wood siding?
wood siding.
Wood siding.
So the front facing and the side of the house is all wood.
Yeah.
The previous owner, I think they put.
Hardy plank?
No, they didn't. Although I'm interested in doing something similar, like when we want to replace our siding, but
Right.
we haven't gotten to that yet. I think it's aluminum siding, but
On the rear?
on the rear
Uh-huh.
and the side between the houses because it's not attached to the house next to us. But, we did get plans drawn up, but not didn't finalize them architecturally. But we had a designer, and I think I sent that in as well.
Good.
So dimensions and things of that nature, but not all. Like I said, not all the contractor did send over what he had in mind for some of the materials, but
Have you seen the set of design guidelines, York City design guidelines?
if that's the packet I read the
Sort of divided by doors and windows.
right, yeah, and it's been a few years since I read that. I haven't recently read it, so yeah.
It's not a living document necessarily, but
I did. When I looked at it before was, to see what we'd have to do for the siding, because we're going to have to replace that soon on the south side of the house. Front's okay, but the south side. And I didn't know if it had to be, exactly as it is now and that sort of thing, but we haven't gotten there yet either. But that's when I read it. But like I said, it's been a while, so I can review that. But
So
and our
this is-
contractor, he wasn't familiar with it either.
This addition isn't going to go any further than what the deck is right now?
No, I think it goes the same as the deck is right now.
Same footprint as the current deck.
Correct. Yeah.
and just out to the rear, not to the south, off the side of the home.
Correct.
the yard,
Yeah. It
okay.
would still be. It wouldn't go any further south than the home itself.
Right.
I think there's in the drawings they have a porch that kind of would sit a little further south than the deck is now, but not any further south than the house is right now.
And I'm just curious, have you had any discussions with the zoning office about
We
the
did,
lot coverage?
That was the first calls we made, and especially to find out what the setbacks and everything were. And they said, I know I have an email here somewhere, but
Pushing out into
I believe they said that we were fine.
this footprint is
Of course, we'd have to get the
area of the building, isn't it?
the plumbing and all that
Aligning.
permits, but the zoning as far as setbacks, that we didn't have any. As long as it was the same footprint as we are now, I think. I think that's what the answer was, but I'd have to look that email up.
Yeah, your setbacks might not be the issue. I was thinking about lot area coverage in relationship to green space.
I see.
So that's kind of what I was pointing out here too. So I'm the planner, but I was a zoning officer. So the impervious surface, that's what I was asking, so won't be any different in coverage.
So
as it was.
one thing I will say, Nancy, is it looks as if the built building, at least on these plans, is in the footprint of the existing deck, but there is a new deck that extends out to align to the south side of the house. So there is a bit of an extension of the footprint if you count the exterior space.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying to follow where
No
you're
worries.
at here.
So am I. I'm over here going wait a second, what does this line mean?
So it would represent an
Right,
increase
I'm
in
trying to follow
impervious.
this here because I'm the liaison for the HARB, but I'm also planning and zoning.
Okay.
I am the
Then we probably emailed you
supervisor
in the
for
first
planning
place.
and zoning. So, and it's also going to be, do you know total square footage
Of the
of your addition?
of the addition. I
Because
don't.
it's
If
probably going to need stormwater.
That's why I raised the issue.
yeah.
And if it has,
So you may need to come back.
it needs to go
So
zoning.
I'm not so sure that they're going to be able to also make a decision based upon what's here because you don't have the materials.
It's like about a 730 square foot footprint.
I'm sorry, how much?
730 square foot footprint, just the footprint itself, not the total square footage counting both stories. For the first
just
story alone with the deck is 730 square feet.
Okay, so you would also need to do a small project for the stormwater as well. So since you don't have, you know, the materials and things like that, I think we need to go back and start at zoning.
Okay.
And then, and we'll hash that out and hash out the land, you know, the stormwater and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then, once those things are cleared up and you have the materials and everything, would you not agree that then they would be able to come back?
Certainly.
It would be helpful if you had your ideal streetscape materials,
Okay.
including the window designs, so that we could take a review of those and hopefully favorable action for you. I think since your building is sided, if you went with either wood siding or hardy plank, we've, I don't think ever turned down hardy plank as an option to wood siding.
Good. Yeah.
We have not approved vinyl or aluminum siding.
Right.
The window, if the window openings can be similar in size and type as your other existing windows, then we would generally have no issue with it.
Okay. I think that the windows we currently have, I know they were replacement windows from the previous owner.
Right.
So, and
So
I have,
none of the windows in the house are original?
no,
Yeah.
no, they've all been replaced. Yeah. I do have that paperwork. They left it for us, but it's been 10 years since I've seen that. So I can't tell you what they are.
So did you, I can't remember, did you start the permit process and Charlie sent you the HARB application, or did you just do the?
Yeah, I believe.
So everything's been stopped for your permit application, correct? Or halted for
I
now?
believe so until we could move.
Right, so it's gonna have to stay that way until all of it comes, because, so the clock doesn't start ticking on the plan reviews,
Yeah, that makes sense.
so.
Okay.
But what I will say is that my zoning officer, he's out until Monday.
Okay.
So if we want to get together on Monday, if you want to give me a call or something.
I know. Well, we'll see if someone can. I know I'll be out of town for the next 2 weeks.
Okay, well, I'm just letting you know he's out until Monday, and I would like for collectively all of us to get together.
Yeah, we can at least over the phone. come
Yeah,
up with-
that's fine. Cool.
Well, you do have a pretty straightforward material composition on your house, so I do suggest refreshing on yourself on the design guidelines a little
Okay.
bit and take a look at that. But honestly, I'd be hard pressed to think we wouldn't accept a scheme that stays in line with
Okay.
the simplistic materials that you've got.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. Okay, so we just have to take a step back and go through, and then we'll.
Right, we're gonna go back and start over, but then HARB will be kind of, sort of last before you do your permits, you know, for the HARB approval.
Okay.
I'm curious about one thing.
Sure.
Your application. You reference the basement.
Our basement, yes, of the existing structure. Yeah.
That basement doesn't currently extend out under this deck, correct?
No, it does not.
Basement stops at the
Yeah.
house wall.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay, so you're not putting any additional basement
No.
space under this
No.
addition?
No, they designed it as such, I think, to have like a crawl space,
Just for
And-
ventilation?
having. If I remember how they phrased it correctly, I don't really remember, but they a cutout of some sort to get utilities through or whatever. But it ends at the house wall on all sides.
You're proposing to put a significantly more complex structure than the current deck.
Correct.
So it's going to need some significant footing.
Right.
And I was just, again, as I read through, tried to read through the description, I was confused by the basement, so.
I see. Yeah. Yeah, we had no intention to extend the basement or anything. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could I have a motion to table?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion to table, say aye.
Aye.
So we thank you very much
you.
for coming in.
Appreciate
Good luck with your project. We'll be eager to hear how you
Yeah,
get to the next
exactly.
step.
I guess I'll maybe get clarification on next steps, but.
Right.
To,
We,
Table.
to table it, okay.
Mark seconded. And I'll say we stand adjourned with no other business.
Now, when does